This video we will talk about the object class. But before that, let me spend a couple minutes to finish the overreading method and overloading method comparison in the table. So that's why you see here, I asked you a couple questions. You need to think about, is that correct? So like earlier we say, overreading method actually happen in the inheritance relationship. So that's why they are not in the same class. So then do they have the same method name? Right, so both overreading and overloading method, they both have same method name. So how about the return type? Okay, so one thing is be careful. Overreading method, they have to be the same return type. But then overloading method, actually they including in the signature. So they can be the same, can be different. But this one is we put in the question mark. That's mean actually for the overloading method, your return type is not significant enough. So that's be careful. Because overloaded method, the most important thing is we're looking at the parameter list. So the overloading method definitely cannot have the same parameter list. But the overreading method, you have to be the same parameter list, same return type, the same name. But they are in different class because they came from inheritance relationship. So since we talk about inheritance relationship, that's why we need to introduce you the most important class in Java. Java actually is a pure object-oriented concept. So we do have the object class defined. So this object class defined actually is to tell you this class object is the ancestor for any class you define. So actually every class in Java is descended from the object class. Even we didn't write that. Right, so remember you see now we have the geometric object, we have the circle object, we have the rectangle object. Circle object extended from geometric object, rectangle the same thing. Then you will feel geometric object will be the very super class, right? But actually it's not. Sometimes even we just write the class name, we didn't call extend. But every class in Java, by default, they already extends. If they didn't show extends, they extends from the object class. So on the other hand, since every class in Java inherited from the object class, right? So that means every method we define in the object class, they are available in all class because inheritance relationship. So you see, even no inheritance specified when a class is defined in Java, but the superclass of the class is always object by default. Unless, right, because for example, we have the circle class. Circle extends from geometric object. Right, then geometric object inherited from object. So that's why they become the grandson for the circle class compared to the object. So that will be different. But no matter what, geometric object is an object. Circle object is an object. So that's why here, since we say every class inherited from the object class, right? So that's all the method we define in the object class. They are all available for all the class we define in Java. So that's why I want to introduce you a couple important methods. They already default in every class in Java. The first one is the toString method. So here I have the method name and return type. So that's why you see even the first time we implement the toString method in the geometric object, right? But here actually in your geometric object, okay, so we see the geometric object. Even this your geometric object toString method, this one actually is still is an override method because they override from object class. So even before we didn't say that. So then here, for every class in Java, so please get used to that. The toString method will return type will be toString. So they usually, the toString method used to display, return a string that contains the information about this object. So by default, in the object class, they return a string object, contain the class name, followed by the @ symbol, then followed by the memory address. So that's by default. So that's why here, yeah, I may not have this example for you. But one thing is, any class, if you don't override the toString method, that's how they will display the information. How about using this faculty example to show you the toString method? Okay, so you can see here. So then we only have the constructor, right? So let's define a faculty F, so equal to the new faculty. So then they will still do the constructor chain. But here you can do system. So in you do the system.out.println. So then you just have your object name to display the information. So even here you didn't do toString. Here actually you can call toString. I will show you both. Okay, so you can call toString method. So that's why you can see here in our faculty or all the superclass, they didn't really implement the toString method. So now if we run that, we see what information they will show. So then you can see here, at the end, this one is our output. So that's earlier we say. By default, the toString method in the object class, they're using the class name at the memory location. So that's why my faculty class is under my package Module6. So then they display Module6 faculty at the location. So a lot of time when you just display the information using the system.out.println, so they will display the object info after you invoke the toString method. Or actually toString method is so well known, right? So that's why here, even you don't code the toString method, you try to run the program as long as you are in the console output. So only the object itself, you see they will display the class name at the memory location. So this one is our toString method in the object class. So that's I want to show you. Then the second one I want to show you is the equals method. So the equals method, we know about that from the string, right? So when we compare two strings, remember I told you if we want to compare the string content, you need to do the string dot equals method. So actually this equals method actually came from our object class. So we have equals method passing the object, then return type is Boolean. So they will told you these two objects are they the same. And in default implementation in the object class, the implementation of the object class, actually they just return true or false using the equal operator. So that's why you can see by default, if you don't override your equals method in the object class, they just call equal operator to compare the two objects. On the other hand, you know, right? Equal is method. When we compare two objects, we compare what? We compare our data in the same memory location. So that's why here, that's the default implementation from the object class for the equals method. You see they will print, they are in the same memory location. So then if you want to change, right, you see in the string method, we override the equals method. So we check the two string, are they have the same content or not. Yeah, so these two methods I want you to know from this lecture. So other than that, we have the get class. We have the clone that we will talk about next week. Then we have the hash code. So this one we will talk about in chapter 22 when we talk about data structure. But most important thing for this week, you just need to know the toString method and equals method. So that's why this class I want you to know. In object class, we default have the toString method and equals method. So then you should practice how you will override the toString method and the equals method in the class. So then they can work appropriately for each class. So then let me continue to show you the example. For example, earlier we have our circle class, right? So our circle class, I already showed you that's how we will override our toString method. So then here we will display the object information more. But then you can see here now, if I want you to see the equals method, because I want to compare two circles, right? So that's why here, your equals method also can be override. So the equals method, the return type is Boolean. So the data type is, so then when we do the equals method compare, we will compare our host object and the object they pass. So that's why if we want to know two circles are they the same, right? We should do the radius compare, right? So actually the Boolean we just check if this radius is equal to the object. So be careful, we pass in the object. So the first thing we need to cast this host, this passing argument is object to the circle. So after you cast that, then don't forget you need to access the radius. But in order to access radius, let's put a parenthesis first. So we make the passing argument object type become circle type first. So then they are circle type, so that I can dot radius. So then see here, I just compare. If their radius is the same, I return true. If not, you see they just return false. So that's our example about the important method you should use from the object class.